Alright guys, welcome back to the channel for what is actually the first proper training session edition that I've ever brought to YouTube, which I'm really excited about. Anyone who is a part of MBW will have probably followed along a lot of my training that I've put on there, which is definitely in-depth kind of format stuff, but it's obviously specifically for MBW, so it's nice for me to actually share things on ultimately a bit of a bigger platform to more people to show you what my training is looking like, especially through prep. So at the moment I am just over 13 weeks out. I am today doing a devolume pull session, but before you click off the video, because I know you're going to think devolume so boring, don't want to watch that. It's still a pretty intense session for me. My volume is down because it's a devolume, so I'm doing one set less than usual across the board. But on most things I still have two sets, one set, and everything will still be taken all the way there. Just as usual in prep, I'm not being stupid and taking 50-50 reps, but the goal with training is still take strong work, still get a good stimulus. I'm just dropping off a little bit of that fatigue just through the volume. So it will still be a good, hopefully fun and enjoyable session for you guys to watch today. I'll guide you through it and show you what my pull sessions are looking like, especially because these are very different to what my pull sessions look like in my last prep. And anyone who's been following along the journey knows that this prep, this off-season, everything for me has been about developing overall as a bodybuilder, but coming from a bikini athlete up to being the best bodybuilder I can be, which right now lands me in figure. So just going from being the bikini athlete I was to where I am now, there's a big difference, and I want to kind of show you what that difference has been like too. So yeah, we're going to start off with some mobility work, which I do at the start of every single session. Very, very important for me to get my best performance and avoid injuries. So we'll start with that, and then we'll crack on with the main work.
Perfect.
Mobility work is done. Start with the first movement of the session, which is the Nautilus rear delt fly. I start with rear delts in both of my pull sessions. Reason being is that rear delts are a very important muscle group to actually have. They make a huge difference in your physique, just like everything else, but they are a muscle group that a lot of people neglect. Just like, calves or abs or the things that sometimes get shoved to the end of the session. I definitely find that when I go into rear delts at the end, I'm smashed, and they just don't get the attention they deserve. And I also find that when I do them at the start like this, I'm able to mentally and physically be a bit more ready for the rest of the session. So obviously having a bit of blood flow here helps going into all my other pulls, but I have a few sets here where I'm okay, I'm getting focused, I'm getting into the session now, which is really good. Usually I have my AirPods in at this point, but the music's actually not terrible today. Usually it's awful. So considering I'm on a D volume and the music's not terrible, I can get focused like this, which is definitely a positive. feeling really good today. I know maybe sounds a bit silly, but yesterday was definitely a day where I felt a little bit more rough, which you're gonna get some days in prep, but you also get days like that sometimes in off season. And I think that's very easily forgotten, is that, you know, we're not always at this perfect static level of energy and mood. Like sometimes we have up days, sometimes we have down days, but I think the problem is for a lot of people in prep, they have a down day and they feed into it. Like they embrace like all that negativity and they almost clutch onto it and they think, oh, now I'm feeling really, really rough in prep. And it's like, well, you might wake up tomorrow and you might feel a lot better. You might have just had a busy day. You might have, you know, had a stressful day at work. You might have other things going on. So don't like jump to conclusions and almost just like really, really feed into those negative emotions, because you can make that process like so much worse for yourself than it actually is in reality. So before I do my working sets on here, I'm actually going to do just usually I do two, but I'm obviously going to do one today. Quick like lat pullover set, and that's just simply to get my lats a little bit more activated, which is obviously something that can be really helpful if you do struggle with feeling your lats, or just generally having a little bit more lat work. Like this session for me is my more lat focused session. The general layout of both of my pull sessions is pretty similar, but the difference between one being lat bias and upper back is just that I have more volume directed to lat work and one directed towards upper back work. So I do have this in the start of this session, and it really helps me because I've struggled massively with my back connection in general. Like back work is something that I've had to really, really hone in on a lot throughout the off season, but like every day, like I'm constantly working to try and make it better. It doesn't come naturally, so hopefully I'll be able to take you through a lot of those things within these training videos to kind of show you what I've done to work on that. Yeah, I'm going to do a couple of sets there and then we'll get going on the working sets here. It's also a great movement because it actually encourages you to think about where your lat is and what your lat's actually doing. Like I think on a lot of movements, because you think pull down or row, you're just thinking move the handle. Whereas when you do this, like you actually think about where the lat is, like in space. Like your lat is here, it wraps around your rib cage. So when you're positioning, it's like you want to feel that stretch up here. Your lat is now stretched there. It's probably better if I show you on this side. Stretched here, and then you drive it down, and then that's where you get your lat short. And you actually like spend time like thinking about where your lat is and understanding what motion allows you to train your lat, rather than just maybe going in on like, oh, that pull down, that row, and you're just kind of moving around and not having that actual internal feel of what you're trying to do. I've just got 2 sets on this compared to my usual 3. It's definitely welcome today because I was getting to the point in like my last couple sessions where I was getting to the 3rd set and just really noticing that the quality was dropping off. And to be fair, sometimes that is like valid feedback when you're just looking at a normal training setup. It's like, okay, at what point does that volume just lead to worse work, or is it just volume that like you literally can't recover from? But obviously with me being in a deficit, I know that drop off is more so just one deficit related, but also just because I'm really busy volume. And once I'm fresh, I'll feel better when I go back into this afterwards. So yeah, 2 sets on here. You'll probably be looking at this and thinking it looks like a bit of a complicated contraption. And the prime pieces are great because they do have the ability for you to load on these different loading pegs to meet obviously like the strength profile of the movement or change it across the session, but don't stress about those things. Like if you've got them, cool, make use of them. Your coach will probably help you with guidance there, but if you don't have them, it doesn't mean that you're not going to take good work or you're not still going to make great programs. Prime row is going to be the next movement then, so this is for a little bit more of a upper back bias row. This is where normally in this session I have just 2 sets on this as a result, because like I said, this is a little bit more of like a back bias session. But obviously today, D-volume, just the 1 set to still get after with my best intent today. But one thing you'll obviously notice with this pull session, which I haven't mentioned yet, is that this is literally just back work in this session, obviously arms as well. But I don't have any glute or ham work, which I used to do a hip hinge in these sessions. I don't anymore because one, I was starting to get to a point with the hip hinge where I was at a strength level for me that I was starting to accrue a lot of injuries and issues, especially with me then squatting leg days 2 days after. So we pulled it out firstly for that reason, and secondly because like my back just needs more attention. It's probably one of my weakest body parts. As I mentioned, it's something that I've always struggled with, but especially before I kind of came away from like training like full bikini, I didn't really have much back work at all. In my pull sessions, I think I had 3 sets of back, so I did 3 sets of back every 5 days, which is obviously not very much. So it's no wonder that my back was such a weak point, but that was, you know, part of the criteria like at the point, so I didn't really need it. Whereas now I do, so that's why these sessions are predominantly now back work. You know, you have to manipulate your split and your sessions relative to what you need as a physique competitor for your category, and also like relative to just your physique in general. That's kind of why I like push-pull legs, because you can manipulate the sessions with the way that you lay them out to meet your needs as much as you need. They're not just, everyone always thinks push-pull legs is all the same. It's not. It's a very, very flexible split. I have to be honest, this is the most irritating thing about doing this movement on my own, is that I have to put one of these, which by the way is a good tip, put a clip by the dead stop of any movement like this, like shoulder press, row, doesn't matter, just helps you to get a better start position. But when I'm doing it on my own, I have to like take the plates off, put them back on, which is why I'm very excited for AJ to rejoin me in these sessions so that he can actually just give me a push. So he'll definitely be coming back in for some of the next videos, because anyone who's followed any of AJ's content, especially in like his last prep, we basically trained together throughout all of that prep. And only recently, really, in like the past year, we've stopped training together just because we've had different sessions. But we're both getting aligned back on the same split, and with me getting closer to my shows, as much as I can keep training hard on my own, like if he's here and he can be with me in the sessions and just, you know, keep the pace going, give me a little bit of oomph, like I'll take that edge if he's willing to give it to me. And with him like being my coach and also somebody who cares a lot about my process in general, like he obviously wants to be a part of that too. So it'll be nice for you to see, I suppose, a bit of both of our training, especially when my training maybe, it's not that it's boring, but I'm not like doing any new crazy shit. It'll be fun to see AJ, you know, do some more fun stuff to provide a little bit more entertainment on the channel. one thing that I'm not trying to do is progress all my lifts. When you're dieting, the ideal scenario and outcome is that you can hold all of your strength. That's a huge win. But what you don't want to do when you're in like a D volume like this is take this time where you've got obviously a little bit less fatigue going into each set to suddenly like try to progress everything, because you're trying to drop off fatigue. Like, you're not trying to start to accumulate more fatigue, because then what happens is the day after that session, and when you go into the next session and you finish the D volume, you don't feel any fresher. And then that's when your performance starts to drop off. And you're like, oh shit, now I'm losing strength. So just be smart about it. Like, I think of bodybuilders a lot of the time, we just think in the moment, give it everything. Like, it's all about what I can do right now, but it's not. It's about the long-term picture, especially in a prep when you want to get your best outcomes from it when you actually come to getting on stage. This next movement then is the single arm Cybex row, which I do now as a lat bias row. Probably one of my favorite, like most favorite machine rows, especially for lats. You do have to like adjust yourself a little bit to make it a bit more lat bias, because naturally it diverges like this. But that brings me on to the point of how to like very simply manipulate movements for like upper back or lats, because you can worry about all the intricacies and all the complexities of it, but very simply put, if you're trying to train your lats, think about keeping your elbow in, driving it toward the hip. If you're trying to think about training upper back, you're going to keep those elbows out, so you want to think about driving them out, and you're going to actually let them come beyond your rib cage, or like the midpoint of your torso here. Yeah, you can obviously then fine tune it for the position and where you're at, but just think lats, elbows in, upper back, elbows out. No. Come on then.
Rest in peace.
Let's fucking get it now. Come on.
Fuck a pigeonhole, I'm a night owl.
Come on then. Yeah, that's it. All day, all day. Come on, see it now, let's go. Yes, 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 come on. Now we're digging, now we're digging.
Rest in peace of drama.
Come on. Make it fucking happen, come on. All you, all you. Yes. Fucking hell, man. It's ridiculous, that, isn't it? That's honestly, that's why he's my biggest inspiration. That's literally disgusting. No, in all seriousness though, like, that's fucking magic. That's why I'm excited to get back training with AJ soon. Not many people that can do stuff like that. I mean, look at Stephen. Not looking well, that's why he's got massive legs. So we're going to use this is a gym pin attachment. We're going to use this for upper back pull downs. So you have the ability to, if I can actually do it, I have the ability to obviously have the D handles on it, put them exactly where you need them based on what you're trying to do. And this is a great, 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 great tool to have when it comes to doing like pull down work, whether you're doing lats or upper back, because you just have freedom of the wrist joint and elbow joint, which if you don't have something like this, you can always just like put some D handles over the top of a normal standard pull down bar, which is always an option, but it definitely does make a huge difference to just make those manipulations like this, because we're all also built different. Like, every machine, every single thing isn't going to fit you perfectly. I would know, because I'm definitely not average height or size. So yeah, like things like this can definitely be helpful. But I've got upper back pull downs here. Usually I would do 3 sets on this, so 2 sets today. And that will then be like most of the like actual direct back stuff done, and then we'll move on to arms from there. just spoken there a little bit about like the importance of the off seasons and the difference that they make. I actually think that one of the best things that I got from taking the time that I did away from the stage, aside from the physique development aspect, is just having so much appreciation for like that bodybuilding process day in, day out, because I've spent so long without feeling this immense attachment to the physique all the time, or especially to my body composition specifically. I've just enjoyed training, doing the do, eating my meals, doing what's required like as a bodybuilder day by day, without feeling the need to be lean or without worrying too much about the competitive aspect. And it's just made me so grateful for this, and also just very, very content within myself as well, without kind of feeling like I have to attach to only being a good bodybuilder because I'm lean or whatever it may be. Because I spend most of my time as a bodybuilder prior to that off season, like I did a lot of diets, a lot of dieting and into a prep, all before I was 20. So I spent a lot of those young years doing that, and I think that it affected my body image a little bit more. I didn't just have appreciation for just training and just doing what this is day by day. And it's meant that now when I come into this prep, like every day is just such a gift. Like it's just great, I just love it. And I really, really, really want to share that message so much throughout this series as well as I document this prep, is like how much I hopefully can show that I just like enjoy this and I just love the day by day, and how much you should appreciate that. Because too many people take it for granted, man. I really do. I've been there myself and I've learned a lot from that. And I think that taking longer off seasons can actually help you to learn that a little bit as well, when you can just be kind of present with the work in itself. So just something to consider. So for biceps, I usually do 6 sets, where I'll do 3 sets like in front of the body and then 3 sets behind. So 6 sets total, which is more than enough work for me. Obviously today I've got 4 total because I'm D volume. And I've pestered AJ a lot in the past about, I want an arm day and I want to do more arm work, because I'd love to have massive arms. I don't genetically have like big bubbly arms just naturally, but even when it comes to doing more work for them, I just don't need to. And as I've started to come down, I've realised, okay, it would look a bit silly for me as a figure athlete to have these like massive arms, because it does actually throw off the look a little bit. Like you need to be able to display shape, and if anything you want cappy delts. But if you have these big like bulky arms as well, it actually kind of throws off the flow to the look a little bit. So as I've come down, I'm like, okay, I have to remember that I need to meet the criteria. So as much as I like to just train and crack on and have a good time, now that it is obviously coming to prep time and my physique is relatively important, I realise like, okay, I need to focus on actually meeting the criteria. That's really important, because I think so many people spend way too much time looking at this person on Instagram, or this person looks great in a picture in the gym in this lighting, and look at their arms, look at their delts. It's like, that shit actually doesn't matter when it comes to standing on stage. What matters when you stand on stage is how your entire physique flows, standing on a stage with the stage lights on you, relative to other competitors and based on the set criteria, not how you look in a really cool edited picture of you in the gym mirror with some gym lighting. Like that doesn't matter at all. And it's why even when you're backstage looking at other competitors, it doesn't matter. Just focus on what you need to do to be the best competitor you can be for your set class. So we just finished with a couple sets of abs again, usually 3 sets, just doing 2 sets. Rope crunch, to be fair, is one of my favourites because you have so much freedom with the way that you move. For me, particularly, like most things, most machines do not fit my weird body as they should do, because I am really short. I'm 4'10", but I also have really long legs and a really short torso, so like things just don't fit as they're supposed to. So generally, if I can go on something that I have more freedom, it's a little bit better. Abs, just like back, to be fair. Another like body part that I didn't really train very much when I was training for a little bit more for bikini. So I have had to prioritize like more ab work, which I have stayed on top of in the off season, even when I've had lots and lots and lots of body fat around my belly, because I wanted to make sure that I had some abs when I come down. I know I've done the best I could do to build as much abs as possible. So hoping that the more I come down, there will actually be some abdominal muscle there. That would be ideal, because definitely, like, I think in all categories, but figure and above, I think if you can get on stage, you can hit that front relax and you've got a good midsection. Obviously, you don't want your abs to be overly developed and they make, I mean, everyone says make you look blocky, but they maybe like could take away from the rest of your physique if they're more developed than everything else, for example. But if you can stand on stage and have just a clean midsection, like when you hold your midsection tight, you've got a little bit of vacuum, you can see like actual ab definition. I think it just ties the whole physique together. Whereas sometimes I think when people think they look a bit like washed through the midsection, it's more so just because they've not got abdominal muscle there. So staying on top of this is definitely very, very important. So that's the session wrapped up. That was a very, very good session, actually. Like I kind of mentioned at the start of the video, it shows how much sometimes the way you feel can fluctuate day by day. Just because you have one bad day doesn't mean you're having a bad week or a bad month or whatever it is. So very, very good session today. Nice to obviously document it for you guys. I promise next session will be a little bit more entertaining, because I'll be back at normal volume. We'll be doing a leg session, which will be lots and lots of fun. But pretty much the protocol for me after training is I will come into this lovely sauna of a posing room in Ultraflex Rotherham, and I will do a few rounds of posing practice. That's just daily, non-negotiable, not something that I will ever miss. Even when I feel fucking knackered after a session, you still got to get it done. It's really important. So Joe will film some bits that will either be or not be in this video, depending on how I look. But to be fair, one thing I really want to share throughout this series again and through the prep is that you're not always going to be really, really happy with how you look, especially on the way down. I think a lot of people overanalyze how they look all the time during a prep, especially if they're constantly trying to put out content on social media and get validation for, oh, you look really lean or you look amazing. And the reality is like when you're coming down, like sometimes you're going to look flat. You're going to look flat and still a bit fat. You're not going to be ready yet. Like the goal is not to look amazing until, you are actually ready to step on stage. There's processes in between where, you don't look incredible, but it's just part of the process of getting into stage lean condition. And it's important that you still, do your posing and still keep accountable with like knowing what you're looking like through those phases, but you're not so attached to looking perfect all the time, because that's not the goal. So yeah, we'll do some posing practice now, and may or may not catch you in the posing room, but if not, I will catch you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, and please make sure to like, subscribe, all that jazz if you did enjoy it, and I'll see you in the next one.